Well, let's move on to something a little bit more serious. There's been a split in the coalition over Glencore's carbon capture storage project in the Great Artesian Basin. Leader David Littleproud of the Nationals, he did a 180 this week, admitting his government got it wrong when the project did not require assessment under the Environmental Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act back in January 2022. So the issue is now the centre of a federal court case. Let's bring in National Senator Matt Canavan. Thanks for being here, Senator. It's all a bit of a hot mess, isn't it?
Well, look, I think we'll get the right outcome in the end. That's the most important thing. I haven't looked at the detail of the EPBC assessment enough to know which way to go here on that particular question. The problem we've got at a federal government level is the EPBC Act can only intervene, or the regulator in charge of the EPBC Act can only intervene when under very strict and special circumstances, like if the Great Barrier Reef is going to be damaged or an endangered species is threatened. The more general issues that have been raised by concerned feedlotters out in this area, out around Moonee and Condamine area, can be dealt with under state law. They can deal with all of these factors, including the local impacts, which don't get captured by federal environmental laws. And so the ball is in the Queensland Government's court. I welcome Premier Miles saying the other day that he doesn't think it's a good idea. The more I've learnt about it, I don't think it's a good idea. And hopefully Glencore gets the message and moves on with this project, because I just don't see any benefit to people of Western Queensland.
So Glencore received advice that it wouldn't need assessment under the Act. The Environment Department sought advice from then Nationals leader Barnaby Joyce, as well as Keith Pitt, the Water and Resources Minister. Joyce didn't respond. Pitt endorsed the decision that it didn't need assessment. Did they get it wrong?
Well, as I say, that you've got to. I don't know. Honestly, Andrew, I don't know. I haven't looked at it in detail but I do know, from being a former minister myself, is that you as minister can only act within the confines of the law. So whatever your personal views are, whatever you think should happen overall, ultimately your job as a minister is to enforce the law. And the law of the EPBC Act says that only matters of national environmental significance can trigger an evaluation. But
Joyce didn't even respond.
Well, you'd have to ask Barnaby, but perhaps the advice he got. I mean, I'm obviously speculating here because I wasn't involved and I haven't seen the correspondence of the advice. But probably in that situation, his department advised that there wasn't a matter of national environmental significance, and therefore there wasn't a case for the federal government to intervene. That's probably what happened here. Certainly, what the decision held up to was the conclusion was that a matter of national environmental significance wasn't triggered. Now, as I say,
you guys have raised the flag now, though.
Yeah, because there's obviously.
Should that have been done back then, though?
Well, as I say, as ministers, you can only enforce Commonwealth law.
But in terms of changing the law and raising those concerns, shouldn't that have been done back then?
Well, these powers exist with the state government. They can stop this because they have more powers on a local planning level to enforce this. I've had somewhat involvement myself when this was first proposed at Taroom. At the time, I was Resources Minister. And I went out there with Colin Boyce, he was then the state member for Callide, and I'd agreed with him at the time that this wasn't the right place. I went and spoke to Glencore and said, look, the aquifer here is way too close. So if that was the case,
why didn't you change the mechanism for matters of environmental significance?
Well, we got a good outcome then. So at the time, I had a meeting with Glencore and said, look, the aquifer here is way too close to the one that farmers use. I don't think it should be here. And they moved away. They moved. And then, look, they went out to Moonee and I wasn't the minister anymore and I haven't
But if the issue was over power, not necessarily the particular thing, should your government have done more to tighten a mechanism back then?
Well, I think it's right that we have a distinction in responsibilities because I mean, it's a double-edged sword.
So do you think the mechanism should be tightened now?
No, I don't want to see the federal environmental law go further into state government decisions because it's a double-edged sword. If we did that, suddenly a Green Labor government in Canberra could tell farmers what to do, not just what Glencore what to do. So I definitely don't support that. I mean, there's matters here that are rightly the ones of state governments. And I do not support the continuing centralisation of government power in Canberra. I think we make worse decisions, and notwithstanding that the state government's not so great either half the time, but you'd be in a much worse position for the beef industry, for the cattle industry, for the mining industry, everybody in regional Queensland, if decisions got centralised in Canberra. So there are some things that Canberra doesn't get involved in. It only is when it meets a certain threshold where the Federal Environmental Act is triggered.
So just to clarify,
yeah.
You are happy with the powers as they lay, even if it meant that this got through?
Look, there are other problems with the EPBC Act, but I think what you're suggesting...
These specific powers, though, when it comes to that.
I think, well, what you're suggesting is that somehow we expand the remit of the federal government to cover more of the field, if you like, to cover more of the environmental issues that come up. I don't support that. I don't support that because that would be more red tape, more regulation, not just for Glencore, it would mean for farmers as well. That wouldn't be good.
Do you support carbon capture storage projects?
Look, I'm not against them in principle. I think the issue here that's increasingly become mindful is that there are risks with pumping liquefied carbon dioxide down an aquifer. It would pollute water streams if it was to interact or to exchange with the aquifers that are used by farmers, by humans. And so there's a risk there. Now, there's a risk with everything we do, right? So there's a risk when bores go down, when farmers put down a bore, when gas companies put down a bore. There's risks. But there's corresponding benefits associated with those risks. We produce more food, we produce energy, and so we're willing to bear those risks. The problem I have with CCS now is as we learn more about these risks of liquefied carbon dioxide, the question gets asked, and should be asked, what do we get back? Like, what do we get in return? We don't produce any more food from pumping carbon dioxide down a well. We don't produce cheap energy for people. We notionally give people some pieces of paper that they can take back to London and tell their investors, hey, we're clean and we're green and we're carbon neutral now. Well, what does that do for the people of Moonee? What does that do for the people of Western Queensland? Nothing. And so I worry about this and why would we take that on? Obviously, there are CCS projects that are offshore that can be done in old oil and gas fields. You know, they're probably lower risk. And there's also enhanced oil recovery, which can be good because you can actually get more oil out by pumping carbon dioxide into old oil wells. Not much of that available in Australia, though, because we haven't had much of a domestic onshore oil industry. They do that in Texas. It works really well. They make money out of that. As I say, life's all about weighing risks and benefits. So I'm sorry I'm not going to give you a blanket yes or no answer, because if a CCS project does deliver some real benefits, sure, let's and it offsets those risks, let's do it. But right now, the risk all seems to be in one direction.
Matt Canavan.
Is that it?
It's time to play for cattle stations.
I talk too much, don't I? I talk way too much.
Sometimes, so I would never say that. Just kidding. But here is the scoreboard as it stands. As you can see, your side of politics could use a leg up. At the moment, Murray Watt is the only person to have 5 points. David Littleproud not doing too flush down the bottom.
Well, it's
bit of pressure.
You obviously put people through the ringer. We'll see how I go.
We'll see how you go. So there's 5 questions in this one. No peeking. I did hear you were trying to get the questions ahead of time. Question 1, Matt Canavan. What is the process of dry aging beef primarily used for? Increasing tenderness, enhancing flavour, reducing cooking time, or adding moisture?
Enhancing flavour.
Correct. 1. Which of
that's a matter of opinion, though. I'm the beauty of the eye of the beholder.
You've just got a point. Don't talk yourself out of it. Which of the following is a traditional sauce served with steak? Béarnaise, marinara, Alfredo.
What was the first one again?
Béarnaise,
Yeah.
marinara, Alfredo.
Béarnaise.
Correct.
Yes,
That's
right.
2 points.
I'm a bit confused
I
there.
thought you were going to go to your
Yeah,
Italian
right.
heritage
Yeah,
for a
right. I was
second
like,
there.
the pasta sauces through me.
Number 3. Which famous rapper had a hit song titled Beef? Clue, it was released on his album Born Again in 1999 after his death. These are your options.
Oh.
Tupac,
Oh, okay.
the
right.
Notorious B.I.G.
Okay.
or Eminem?
Well, I'm going to go with Tupac. Eminem's still alive. Am I wrong?
It's wrong.
I
It's
think
Notorious
if I only get the rapper
B.I.G.
question wrong. I think I've still got
You
pretty
can
good
get
thread.
a point if you sing along though.
I don't even know.
Well, what about if you do some rap signals with your hat? You got a flat cap there? Or?
I don't know. Is that good enough?
Righto, up to question 4. What is the name of the beef processing plant located in Rockhampton, one of the largest
Lakes Creek.
So
No?
Rockhampton Beef Co, Queensland
okay,
Prime
hang on.
Meats, JBS Australia or Beef Central?
Oh, well, JBS Australia. But
Correct.
At Lakes Creek. Everyone
Yes,
calls it Lakes
yes.
Creek here, surely.
Local knowledge,
Yeah,
of
okay,
course.
Yeah.
Our final one for you. Ready?
Yep.
Name 10 cattle breeds
Whoa.
in
Okay.
20 seconds.
All
The
right.
timer starts
All right.
now.
Droughtmaster, Senator Cutrudis, Bradford, Brahman, Wagyu, Angus, can I name Charolais, Brangus? Can I name hybrids?
You've said that already.
No, I didn't say Brangus.
Oh,
Can I say
continue.
hybrids?
Yes.
Okay. Did I say Bradford?
Oh, you got
close.
8. That was so close. Look, you've done very well. You've got 3 points there out of 5. Senator Matt Canavan, thank you for playing for Cattle
Thanks.
Stations.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Well, we are off to a break. More on the other side.
He